Welcome to Intentionally FinTech, a show where we dive deep behind the purpose of your favorite emerging or even incumbent FinTech brands. I'm your host for today, Michael Phillips, the CEO and founder of a purpose-driven branding agency called Beholst. After 7 years in the creative industry, after an unfortunate wake-up call in late January, I've made it my mission to help my guests here on the podcast and other founders, for that matter, to do what inspires them most. On this show, we're going to be talking about the purpose of FinTech brands, or the mission that they serve, the just cause that they've pledged their time to, the values that drive their day-to-day growth, and just how exactly clarity of purpose helps them navigate this otherwise cluttered environment. So let us dive in today with Jonty Mulholland. Did I say that right?
Jonty Mulholland.
Mulholland. I'm dyslexic. I'm very sorry for that, Jonty.
All good, Michael.
How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you, Michael. Yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. I've had a very busy day, but I'm happy we have this intentional time set so we can talk a little bit about. So, I normally introduce my guests, but you're pretty young, you're very enthusiastic, and I fear I will not convey that same enthusiasm if I were to introduce you myself. So, Jonty, tell us a couple of words. What do you do for a living?
So, currently I'm actually a student. I'm going into my third year of university, but alongside that, the best way to put the company I started, Dominion Financial Review, would be financial intelligence / financial education. So what our company does is financial forecasting, but now we're moving into the AI stratosphere. This is due to launch in about Q1 2026, and it's an AI financial accelerator that actually provides academic worth rather than one of these insight weeks or standard internships where you don't really learn much. So the best way to compare it to, it's like Amplify Me, but we give structured feedback, and it's over a 4-week period.
I understand. That's actually quite ambitious. That leads me to my next question. How old are you, if I may ask?
21 years young.
21 years young. Wow. I'm not sure if our audience can relate to that, what they were doing at 21 years old, but I can tell you I wasn't building an AI system, that's for sure. I know you told me in the intro call we've had, but of course our audience doesn't know that yet, that you're also working on an AI platform. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So obviously, as a student, all students use ChatGPT a lot, and I feel like they use it in the wrong way, and AI is kind of abuse in a sense, and instead of it being an advisor, they actually get it to do the work for them. So we're kind of bridging two problems with the AI. So there's a lack of internships available in the UK, and we're trying to facilitate more, but then the use of AI isn't being utilized properly. So we're having it as a feedback system and a marking system. Instead of us just running internships manually and getting someone to mark it, we've developed a criteria for it. And obviously there's the problem with AI being biased. You could put something through once, it comes up as 40%, put it through again, could come up as 100%. We're narrowing it down to a couple percent either side, about 2%.
Wonderful. All right, and where did this passion with AI come from? Was it because you were a student, or was there something different that made you choose this path?
I'd say it was a pivot move from DFR that got me into it. So as I said before, we still are doing financial forecasting, but there's always a communication issue, and people not being free at certain times, or there's too much of a workload because we employ students and they have degrees at the end of the day, and some degrees are really demanding. If you go to Cambridge or Oxford, you're studying like a full-time job pretty much. You're studying 40, 50 hours a week on top of your degree. So I thought, okay, what could help me out here? And then I thought, well, AI is always free. AI is always available, and it doesn't get tired. So that's why I moved into the space.
I see. Wonderful. We've had many people on this show, and there's a recurring theme about efficiency. Would you say that your new AI platform, actually, let me rephrase that. How does this new AI platform tie to the purpose of DFR, and that is financial information, as you said?
So it actually marks it properly. So the information we're putting out is correct, and the data we're putting out isn't wrong at all. It's to a good quality and a good standard. It also ties in with facilitating internships on a larger scale rather than just offering it out maybe to 5-6 students every month. We do it all year round.
I understand. And would you say that your current product started from a gap in the market, or do you think that it was because you felt some higher purpose, as we like to call it here on the show?
I'd say it's a bit of a grey area, to be honest. I wouldn't say, because I'd say it's a market that hasn't been explored yet properly, but it should have been. And the higher purpose, I feel like stuff should be done because there's a massive crisis in the job market at the moment. Employability is low, and people getting experience is low as well. And actually having that financial knowledge is, in a sense, is all sort of falling apart. These grad entry jobs, they're getting taken up by AI as well. So those experience, those internships, they're actually, a lot of them are dwindling and getting cancelled at the moment.
I understand. Let's fast forward maybe 5 years. So that sounds fair to you. Where would you see your AI, or how do you see it implemented?
Okay. In about 5 years' time, I get this question a lot, especially because, well, we're going through VC funding at the moment. So they're like, oh, 5-year growth plan. But the way I see it with the AI would be, we're partnered with a couple hundred universities around the world, building amazing partnerships, and we're an accredited firm. Instead of having a sticker from a different organization, we can have one saying it's DFR certified. So that's one thing that I'd like with the AI.
Okay, wonderful. I'm taking notes, by the way, because at the end, what I would like to do is to create something like this for you. If you want, I can walk you through this framework. It's something I do on every single episode. And it's a little bit of a shift in perspective as to how people engage with products online and also other people. Are you down to just talk about this for a bit?
Of course, Michael. Take it away.
Perfect. Okay, so what we have here is the golden circle. For the people who are at home and are listening and not watching this on a video podcast show, we have 3 concentric circles. And in the center, we have a small circle where we write Y inside. Then in the middle, we have another circle with the how tag on it. And finally, the outer circle has a what tag. And what does this mean? You're going to say, well, Michael, you might like circles. And I can tell you, well, it's not necessarily that I like circles, but it's a wonderful way to illustrate this. And it's not a coincidence that I've showed Y here with my accent color, because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. What we're going to do, hopefully by the end of the podcast, is to take out your why and to see exactly why did you start DFR and why did you start this new project with the AI platform. So finally, if you want, the goal of this framework is to basically attract people who believe the same values as you do. That's the easiest way to attract funding, clients, and even employees. And how do you do that? By communicating your why clearly, right? So the first thing what you'd say in any single communication is, why do you do what you do? Finally, how do you do what you do, how you're different, and end with the what. And to give you an example as to how this works, I can give myself as an example. So my why is to help founders do what inspires them most, so that together we can have a more authentic business environment, right? How? Through my first-hand experience of looking at and finding purpose, because you remember the intro call and the audience already knows if they're recurring. I've had a brush with death in January and I had to find my own purpose. And finally, what do? Well, I just happen to do branding. So my why has nothing to do with branding. It's something which I believe. And I attract partners and people who believe remotely the same things as I do. And this is important because we said you attract people, right? And this is how this works, because I lied to you. These are not circles, actually, Jonty. This is a cone seen from the top. So this is the cone itself, and we have the founder's why on top. And this is you as a founder. You know why you started this business, even though you can't word it out. And we're going to get to as to why that is in a second. And then you go back to the management. This is the people who know how to put your vision in perspective, but they believe in your vision deeply. And finally, the employees are working on the product itself, so they know what to do. So the founder knows why. The management knows how to bring that why into fruition. And finally, the employees know what to do in order to get it. They know how to develop. And down here, we have the market. Because you see, this shape is not a coincidence. It's actually a megaphone. If you communicate your why clearly, then your management knows why they come to work. The employees also, and finally, the customers will know why they're buying. An example of a company that does this perfectly is Apple, actually, because what they do is they communicate their why clearly. Yeah. They like to think differently. They to break the status quo. And people who believe the same things or remotely, like me, I am a very loyal Apple fan. The only thing that is not Apple in this studio right now is this. And people who believe the same things as you are will stay with you, and they will be inspired to buy from you. Meanwhile, the traditional marketing manipulates people. With that, you get at best a repeat buyer. The second there's a better deal, they shift. But what if you inspire them and you believe the same values? Then what you get is a loyal customer which will stay with you for better or for worse. And this is the framework. Have you heard about this?
I have not heard about it, Michael.
Okay, well, my goal for today throughout our podcast is to help you find your why and verbalize it in such a way that you can weaponize it to be your biggest asset. Does that sound fair?
Sounds brilliant.
Wonderful. Okay, then, let me ask you this for an example. On a deeper level, how is your new project meaningful to you? Is it something personal that you feel? What exactly about this project gives you satisfaction?
I'd say obviously there's the tech side and there's there's not much emotion around that. But then getting to actually help a lot of students out it makes the long hours and everything very much worth it. And it's always nice helping people out. I don't think there's a person in the world that hates helping someone out and they get something out of it at the end of the day. Like, oh, thank you, this helped me get to this place. Yeah, say that.
Okay, I think based on our conversation so far, I've seen some repeating themes. And I think I've drafted your why statement. I've seen some repeating themes. So the first one, you said that people are using the wrong way. You mentioned AI, you mentioned finance also. You also mentioned efficiency. And you also mentioned that stuff should be done a certain way. And this is very prominent in the financial sector and also AI. So what I think, Jonty, is the reason, and you can let me know if I'm wrong here, the reason you've opened these businesses has nothing to do with finance or AI at all. You are in this business to help people take the right paths or take the right decisions in life such that they can have a more efficient day or a more efficient life, if you want. How does that sound for you? Does that ring a bell, actually?
Yeah, I'd definitely say that's part of the reason.
What's the other part?
Obviously, there's one part helping out with the efficiency, but then there's also the part of never really gone down traditional route in things. Always struggled with that. A couple of years ago, I was studying farming in college, or agriculture, whatever you want to call it. And then I wanted to switch to finance. So didn't do my A levels. Was in a tractor on a farm. It's not the traditional path at all. And then went to a couple of insight days and just thought it's not for me. Kind of want to carve my own way out. And yeah, that's one of the other reasons.
I understand. Well, you certainly have a purposeful company and you definitely have a direction. How does your purpose show up in your day-to-day operations? Could you just walk me through your average Tuesday?
Average Tuesday, at the moment, we're doing a bit of a restructuring. So there's a lot of interviews and it's mainly on the marketing and sales side at the moment. So, like setting teams up, making sure the metrics are good, because I'd say a big part of DFR is its LinkedIn page. We get a lot of traction on it. And we think a company should definitely have a voice. There are a lot of startups that don't post anything whatsoever, really knows who they are. So we definitely ensure day in, day out that we have a presence on social media. And then it's usually team briefings, going over the pitch decks. We're going over the financial model a lot as well, tweaking that just to make sure it's fair, like with the valuations. So yeah, that's an average Tuesday.
I see. And how you mentioned a lot about talking in between peers and making sure that we're all on the same page, or you're all on the same page. How do you communicate your purpose? And do you think that everyone at the hierarchy level understands why they come to work?
Yeah, 100%. A big thing around DFR as well is we're not trying to fit in. We're not trying to be the traditional. I'd say a lot of startups try and be very straight down the line, try to be very corporate. Our brand voice is just us, and that goes through the purpose as well. Is everyone who shows up to DFR, it's their personality on the page, and we're not really too afraid to show it. So through that, it makes it a lot more meaningful. So when people are doing work, it's something they're passionate about. It's not a fixed voice.
If I were to ask you for 3 describing words for who DFR is, what would you pick?
3 words.
Or 5, if it's easier.
I don't want to be too cliche, but definitely innovative. Everything that we do, any suggestions, we always try to get in a running straight away. Impactful. We've had a great impact on the people we have worked with. And I'm actually stuck for a 3rd word. I don't really think about the 3-5 words too much. We usually have quite a big spiel we do. It's kind of hard to explain DFR in just a few words.
I understand. Okay, you're about to embark on a journey to build this AI platform, right? And I'm not sure if you know, but there's a lot of regulation involving AI, but also finance, because you'll be tackling financial information, giving financial advice. So how are you going to navigate this regulation field while also staying true to your purpose of changing the way people have access to information?
I don't really see how regulation would have a major impact on that, to be honest.
Well, for an example, you have the Digital Act, the AI Pact, which is also something which in the EU is a big problem. And there is also regulation. Actually, no, that doesn't concern you. So yeah, the only thing that concerns you right now is the implications with AI. So have you given that any thought, how that might limit your ability to operate in different areas?
Yeah, because we are working a couple different markets. We're trying to expand out to America and the UK, and there's complete different legislations within everything you're doing. Like it's a complete different demographic. So we are looking over a lot of the legalities, and we've just got to find a middle ground where, you know, all legislation is met and it's doable for sure.
100%. Do you think your purpose is a guiding compass in how you can navigate this regulation, this sea of regulation, if you want?
Yeah, obviously regulation and stuff like legislation, it does limit some companies, but I feel like that's because they don't try and navigate it properly. They kind of get hit with some a regulation law and they'll just give up. There's always a way to work around it. And we do a lot of that at DFR. We've encountered many problems, bumps in the road, but it's just about adjusting.
This is something we've heard a lot here on the podcast. We've had people who said that, regulation is all about negotiating, and sometimes we had the very first episode we've aired, Stefan Kumbuk, who said, well, why is to break the status quo of how payments are made. But there are certain ways, because we are a licensed entity, we can't say certain stuff because we'll lose our license. So we have to compromise a bit. But even that compromise is made in light of our purpose. And I found that as a wonderful thing. And I'm sure that if you use your purpose as a navigating or guiding light in the sea of regulation, you will succeed. But we talked about you going at the networking event before we turned on the recording. And I want to ask you, have you had any contact with investors over there?
Yeah, been speaking to some wealth managers and some of their clients be quite interested. We started the kickoff VC funding on Monday. We've reached out to around about 300, got a couple kickbacks. So yeah, going to set up some meetings. Obviously can't name drop or anything, but yeah,
Obviously, no.
it's looking pretty promising, to be honest. So I'm pretty happy about it. And I'd say the networking events are great. Because as I said before, the brand voice is our voice. So when we go to these events, we show a lot of personality. Yeah, people, I think people like us. That's the impression I got from the networking event last night. I hope so.
Let me ask you this follow-up question then. When you talk to investors, do you think they can feel when a FinTech stands for something, or do you think they're looking just for the checklist to check the boxes? For example, you have the right assumptions, the pro forma statements are looking okay, and you look like you're going to be profitable, so we're going to invest? Or do you think they actually look at something with purpose?
It depends on the investor. So I'd say it's a bit open-ended, to be honest. But on the most part, I'd say it's the tick list.
All right. Are you willing to see a change in perspective a bit?
Of course.
Okay, so I'm not sure if my audience knows this, but I don't think I've said it live on air before because everyone knows me as the creative guy here, but I majored in asset pricing and financial engineering. So what happens is I have a lot of VC friends, as one should. And I always ask them for stories to tell on the podcast or to tell my clients at the agency. And there was one story which stood out. It was with a payment company. What they were aiming to do is you have the plastic cards which you can use to pay with crypto. Not necessarily an innovative idea. Everybody's doing it now, but it was an idea. And it was targeted to a certain market in a certain country. I forgot right now. But I remember the details. He was there. He was analyzing the product. The guy had the checklist, like you said. He had good assumptions. The pro forma statements were looking okay. And it looked like it was going to be profitable, more or less. And then he even had a mission slide, right? Why is he doing what he's doing? What's the mission of the business? But my friend withdrew his investment. You know why?
No.
Because he could tell that this person did not believe a single word of what he said. He was in it for something else, for money, for an example. And let me tell you now, this is something I tell everyone on the podcast. If you're into entrepreneurship for money, you're going to fail, because the second you don't see the money, you're going to quit. Money is just a consequence to doing business. You can make money a million other ways. Go be a stock trader. Go be, I don't know, right now where I'm at, cleaning ladies make a lot more money than your average corporate job. So you can also be a cleaning lady or cleaning guy, for an example. So you have different professions you can pick. But if you pick entrepreneurship, you need to have a purpose. And this ties up to, you're British, so you must know Simon Squibb, right?
Yes.
Have you read his book?
I haven't read his book. I've seen a lot of videos of him online, though.
Okay, well, let me tell you, it's not a spoiler. It's just one story. You're going to find it in the book. When he invested in someone who didn't believe a single word of what he said. It was a chef who he had all the checklist, Michelin star, experience, best cooking school in France, and he wanted to open a restaurant. Of course, you should be stupid not to give this guy money, right? Because he's going to triple it. But what happened was the restaurant went bankrupt. Why do you reckon? You'll never guess.
Chef didn't believe in it.
Not only didn't he believe in it, he was never in the restaurant. Do you know where he was?
Where was he?
Taking pictures of birds. Because this was his passion, this was his dream, to be an ornithologist. And he wanted to show the beauty of the world to everyone. And cooking was not part of his agenda, apparently. And this is important. So I agree with you. It's important to see a balance. Some investors, it depends on it. But the majority, it depends also at what stage of investment you're in. Because if you actually pass seed round and even Series A, then it's quite possibly that you have a purpose, because otherwise you wouldn't last that long. But from what I've seen, chats here, and also my experience, angel investors and also Series A, they look purpose, see that this guy is actually believing in what he's doing and he's conveying that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's definitely like content and character as well, because with startups, it's not plain sailing. There's loads of bumps in the road. There's loads of stuff you got to navigate and get around. You've got to be a good problem solver, and you've got to have a lot of grit. It's not just that the VCs, they're not just investing in the companies, they're investing in the people at the end of the day. And they need to make sure these people are going to do right by their investment.
Exactly. And what best person that's going to do best by your money than a person who's thirsty to see this come to life, and not seeing his bank account come to life, but see this come to life, because he's going to fight for you. And that's where the framework comes in. If we look at it, it's all psychology, right? And this is how you can also get investors on your side, and even clients on your side, by the way. I promised you I'll explain a little bit more as to why we can't verbalize the why, and we don't really understand how we don't touch this. Because you see, psychologically speaking, we have two brains, the old brain and the new brain, we'll call them here. If you've watched any of my shorts, and my returning audience knows what I'm about to say, you have the old brain, which is the emotional and instinctual part of the brain. You have the new brain, which is the rational part. Coincidence makes it that speech is located in the new brain. And thus, if we have emotions, we can't verbalize them very well, because the old brain doesn't know how to talk. It evolved when we were back reptiles crawling out of the sea. We needed to worry about food, shelter, and being alive. We didn't need to speak our thoughts so much. So thus, when we have a feeling, we just say it's a gut feeling, right? That's where it comes from, actually. We have this instinctual feeling, and how that translates, it's my why and another person's why, for example, are not compatible. And this is how you can rationalize it. And to see how this dynamic works, for an example, if you were to ask Michael 5 years ago, why does he buy Apple? He would say, well, I like the design, I like how sleek it looks. That's just a rationalization. But now if you ask me, why do I buy Apple? Because I like to think that I think differently. And this is the way I can communicate that. So people like to belong to certain groups, and that's why they buy certain products. And the more obvious you make your group, more obviously you can attract those people who are interested in the same things as you are. And that's also with investors. That's why they look for purpose. It's a psychological wiring. But let me ask you something. I've spoken enough. Let us rewind back to the early days of DFR, when resources were very tight, and I mean very, very tight. How did your purpose help you stay focused? We were talking about this, right?
Yeah, because obviously, there was a lot of times where DFR wasn't going the best, didn't have the best people on board, but there's no money coming in, there was no interest, or weren't engaging with the content. So, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, no one's engaged with it, it's not going well, I'm not getting money from it. But I sort of always had it in my head that, you always have like bad weeks and everything. As I said before, like I did a lot of sports growing up. We spoke about it in an intro call, and nothing's plain sailing there either. There's a lot of times where you won't reap any rewards whatsoever, but you just got to stick through it, and that's what we did at DFR. And I'd say the purpose of helping people, making stuff more efficient, just the little wins helps us get through, and then that threaded in with the purpose as well.
Wonderful. You're about to enter the fintech niche. It's no longer financial services, but financial technology. And getting people to trust you in this industry is no small achievement, actually. So, do you think your why, your purpose, is going to help you lower that trust barrier?
I think so, because it's genuine.
100%.
I'm not just saying it for saying it in front of a camera or anything. It's been noted down from the get-go. It was the purpose when we founded it, and it's the purpose now, and it's the reason why we keep working towards it. So I definitely think it doesn't matter what your purpose is. If it's genuine, then the barriers will be, lowered, and people will trust you.
100%. I couldn't agree more, because what this framework we've been talking about in the beginning, that's just a shortcut and a mathematical, if you want, formula for authenticity. When your why is out there and your why is that people know why you're doing stuff, you come out as authentic. And, in the intro call, you liked my story, right? I used the same framework to get you on the podcast. And there's nothing wrong with it, because that's my story. And I came off as authentic, I think, did I? And that's the whole thing. And I hope that you can take a little bit some information of what I've shared with you today and help you even add to the client scale, but also in making the right choice for the people you're going to get for you, or with you, as a matter of fact, in your journey as an entrepreneur. Have you noticed at this networking event that when you start being and communicating purposefully, people listen more and they lower their defenses?
Yeah, because there's like different stages of networking events. Obviously, I did some with a company, and this ties in perfectly because I didn't really believe in like what they were doing. And when I was going to networking events, I was quite, I'd say it's like anxiety inducing being in a networking event and not properly having a purpose being there. It's kind of like it limits yourself in conversations. But the one I went to yesterday, I have full faith in DFR. I went into the room with a smile, and I was able to strike up conversations because I've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the company.
Wonderful. Okay, are you ready for 2 personal questions? These are among the very last I have for you today.
I'm ready.
Okay, let me shift the spotlight onto you, Jonty, today, because we've talked about purpose, we've talked about your company, but I want you to think of one moment and I want you to be very detailed with this picture, that made you build DFR. What was that moment that you said, this needs to be built?
So how it came about was I was on an internship, and it just wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't learning anything. I was going to all these fancy events, and I was just looking around, like there's hundreds of thousands of people applying for IB roles, sort of like this rat race, and I took myself out of it completely, and I quit my internship, which wouldn't say it's the most conventional thing to do as a student, to pursue it. Yeah, that's when I quit my internship, that's when I knew, okay, I'm like 2 feet in with DFR.
And how
That was
did
like a defining moment.
did you feel at that very moment, if you were to describe that emotional state?
It's kind of euphoric, to be honest. It's quite an anxious time because that's a big shift, especially like
Right.
as I said before, I'm not like from a finance family. My family's quite into agriculture, farming, so it's a bit of a new industry. Didn't have like stable foundations yet, so it was a massive risk. But I felt a lot better for doing it because, as I said before, I believe in my purpose for DFR, and it's something I actually want to do. I'm happy every day I work on it because it's mine, and it's the people that work at DFR, it's their voice. That's the brand voice. Everyone's passionate about the work on the board.
Wonderful. And I have your proper why statement right now, but I want to chisel it with one last question, if that's fine with you. We've talked about where you want to see DFR in 5 years, but I want to ask you 10 years from now. Imagine in the fintech industry, people are talking about Jonty Mulholland. What do you hope they say and why?
Hopefully nothing bad.
Kind of hard if you're successful.
What I'd hope they say about me in 10 years. I'd say actually stuck true to my cause and went against the grain, was successful with it. And I want people to note down that you don't have to be from a target university to do this. You don't need to have all the bells and whistles. You've just got to have like a lot of determination and grit. And I want that to be very much publicized in the journey.
So if we were to put everything in one word, what would that be?
How people would describe me?
Yeah.
Determined.
That
sums me up pretty well.
That's a good adjective. All right, I have your why statement. Are you ready to hear it? Let me know if this strikes a chord in your inside, in your inner soul. Well, Jonty Mulholland, because I lied to you, there's no difference between DFR and you as a founder. You are an extension of the company is an extension of you, and it has your why, because everything you've done up until now, Jonty, has been because of this reason. And this is what I got from you. Of course, we only have like 45 minutes in order for me to get the perfect statement. I would need 3 hours of your time. But we're going to make do with what we have. To change the way people access information or pick up information such that no one will waste their time in the wrong places. How does that sound?
I'd say that sums up pretty well, especially with some of the words we were chucking around, like efficiency, making stuff more efficient, more worthwhile.
Exactly. So if you were to ask me why does DFR exist, it doesn't matter. And let me show you that it doesn't really matter with finance and anything. Your why is this: to change the way people pick up information so that they don't waste the time in the wrong places. How do you do that? Well, you told me in the intro call and that you're majoring in finance also. So how? Through your first-hand knowledge of what finance is, and through your passion of AI, and through your networking skills, because you just told me that you have an ease talking with people. And finally, what do you do? Notice how this what is a witness to why you've opened up Dominion Financial Review, which is a place where people can learn about finance in a safe environment and a controlled environment, as a matter of fact. And now you're democratizing this knowledge by giving an AI, basically giving them a financial consultant at hand. Notice how everything comes in and flows in perfect. It's like, it seems like an authentic story. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Final question for today. If more fintech companies were to be purposeful, and I'm not talking about being ambitious, saying we revolutionize and we're going to innovate. Everybody does that on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
What do you think would change in the industry?
I'd say it links back to the sort of barriers of trust that we were talking about before. I'd say the industry as a whole would be a lot cleaner if people were honest about why they were actually doing it. Because I think, look at 90% of startups, it is just for the money. A lot of it, like people don't like their job and they want to have another source of income. So, but then there are some companies that are like, okay, I didn't like my job, but I have a passion for this and I'm going to go pursue it and I'm going to take a risk. If more people are like that, I'd say the industry as a whole would be a lot more trustworthy and we'd be open for more stuff. I'd say in America, the startup market is a bit more familiar with what I just said than the UK.
Right. I see. And I just came up with this question because I think it's going to be interesting to touch up on this also. Imagine that this AirPods case was a magic wand, right? And anything you'd like to change about DFR would change immediately as soon as I wave it. What would you change and why?
How people perceive us, because some people don't read into us properly and they think we're just like a student-run publication. Some people think that. And I get some messages like, oh, congrats on running your own student publication, because there's so many of them in the UK. That's only like a fraction of what we do. So yeah, some people's perceptions, but we're not too fussed about that really. It's just a bit of an annoying at times.
All right, Jonty. Well, I'm sorry to let you know, but I kind of lied to you again on this show. I tend to do that with my guests. I don't think anyone's going to come on the show anymore. Are you familiar with a celery test?
I'm not. What is it?
Well, for the sake of the guests and also for the sake of our viewers, let us introduce that again. The celery test comes from the simple metaphor. If I were a health guru, which plate of food you think I'd set in front of you? You're British, so maybe fish and chips as a fast food symbol, or a salad made out of celery? Which one do you reckon?
I know which one I want to say, but I'd probably go with the salad. But if the fish and chips has mushy peas on, it's healthy and nutritious. It's a bit of a weighted argument, to be honest, in my mind.
I'm not sure my nutritionist would agree with you, Jonty, but
Let's go with the salad. Let's go with the
the
salad.
salad, exactly. You see, what we do, it should be in tune with our purpose. Otherwise, we fail this authenticity storyline we were trying to build the why, how, and what earlier. So what we do in this segment is we take a look at whatever material our guests are willing to provide us and see whether their purpose is immediately obvious from what they give us. And if it's not, we give active feedback. Are you down to do that right now live on the show?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, which asset will you give us to look at today?
Let's go with the website.
Okay, I will bring that up in a second. All right, Jonty, do you recognize this landing page?
Yeah, I've done a bit of the coding behind it, so I've been on it a bit too much, actually. So, yeah.
I see. Okay, well, let us have a look at the page. So your work, your voice, your impact. Transform your financial insight into influential content that shapes markets. Start your journey in 3 simple steps. Apply online, get it okay. So this is your what? Content creation, university, partnerships, publication, platform. Empowering the next generation of financial leaders. Articles published, analysts, and readers. Alumni experiences. Okay, this is people who have worked with you, I believe, right?
Yeah, they've just finished up with their internship, so we're getting quite a few of them at the moment.
Okay. So this is a lot about your what and your current what, which is this is your LinkedIn feed. Okay.
Yeah.
About your current what, which is the financial review. So I can't really say anything about that yet. I'm more interested in here. The about. WindowsDrive, however, is transformed a simple idea into Europe's fastest growing student-driven financial intelligence powerhouse. We chose to build, not beg. Okay. This is very distracting in the background. I'm sorry.
It's quite nice, though, I think.
Yeah, it's okay, I guess. From a UX standpoint, I have to give you a bit of feedback here. This is very distracting for me, and my eyes are gonna go left and right. I would just much rather see this beige in the background or something else, because this moving, I'm really struggling to focus and actually read. But it could just be me. But yeah, okay. Purpose. I like that you have this section here. We had finance by moving services and we okay, yeah, rigorous. Okay. We have the founder over here. And I like that you've put people here. That's a good thing because people buy from people. One feedback I could give you is make sure you use consistent photos in the sense that, you just plain back. If you have a plain background, everyone have a plain background, because otherwise it looks a little bit off when it comes to the brand and how you want to show yourself. Right, so that's the piece of feedback I can give you here. Okay, this is all right. And let's look at a page of articles. This is just a basic blog, so I don't think I'll find anything interesting to look at from the purpose side of things. Only that the articles are, reviewed, which I'm sure they are, and I'm not qualified to give any feedback on that. Okay, why work with us? Okay. And contact? Okay. I think I've seen enough. Are you ready for my full feedback?
Yeah. Go on then, Michael. Be nice. Okay, be nice.
No, I'm always nice. Unless you want me to be mean, I can also do both. Your choice. Okay. So what I've seen is a minimalistic, clean design, and I like the color palette. Let's start with what I like. I like the color palette because I haven't seen Bordeaux being used in finance so much. So you have a differentiation point over there. And I also like that it's not very texty. It's very breathable. So that allowed me to skim very easily, which is not something that everyone does. So congratulations with that. Now, what I would improve is, first and foremost, I would like to see some different fonts, because while you're a publication right now, you're making the transition into fintech, and I would like to see that on the website itself, and through how you're going to have to do a little bit of a rebrand because you're changing a little bit scope. And the cleanest way to rebrand is to rebrand with your purpose, and you want to change the status quo of accessing information. So I would move with something bolder. I remember we talked about how bold you are. I want to see that in design also. You're being very docile with it right now, from what I see. I'm not saying go ham with it, but just a little bit more, right? To be in tune with the purpose and all. I've only looked at stuff from the perspective of how does it represent your purpose. The copy text, I'd keep it shorter and to the point, and just add your why statement, which of course you didn't know it up until we've come here, but you make something like that. Mention that you're here to change the way people access information, so that people don't waste time in the wrong place, because there's many people who have been burned by going to different coaches and going to different courses which they wasted money and learned nothing. There's people also done degrees and know nothing, mind you. So it's important that you phrase it like that, and you're going to attract the people who believe the same values as you do. And the another thing which I do is the pictures. Make sure everything is synchronized so that you look clean and professional like the innovators you want, and you definitely are. But make sure you're in tune with the purpose and how you want to be perceived. This also ties into what you change with the magic wand. These are a few insights that will help you tremendously. And I think is the leaves. They were very distracting, and I could hardly focus on the timeline. But that's all I have for you. If I were to give you a grade, for me, a passing grade is 7, which means that your purpose is immediately obvious, and I know why you exist, and if I'm on the same wavelength as you, I click buy. This is where I see this is the goal I want everybody to have. I would see you as a 5.5 because you do talk about your purpose, but it's not immediately out there. Your purpose should be first, and then talk about how you're different, and finally what you do. Because that way it sounds like coherent story, and we've seen that with you. We did it earlier when we talked about the purpose, the why statement itself. But not too bad, Jonty, because we had people who failed the salary test also on this podcast. So congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. And no leaves.
No leaves. I mean, depends what leaves, but that's a conversation for a different podcast. All right, Jonty. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Intentionally FinTech. Do you have any final thoughts for our audience today? No leaves.
No leaves of any sort. And I'd say don't stick to the norms. Because obviously with the finance industry, it's very like set in stone what it's meant to be, but you can go around that. You don't always have to go down the traditional route. You can go against stuff, and I think it's a lot more credible if you do, and you actually are yourself, and you do something you're passionate about, no matter what it is.
Definitely, 100%. Well, thank you, Jonty, for joining me today on this podcast of Intentionally FinTech. I thank you guys for tuning in and listening to Jonty's story, his purpose, and also our wonderful conversation. Make sure you check out the other episodes we've prepared for you with other founders, other fintechs, emerging or even incumbent, see how their salary test compares to Jonty's, and see just what other things are our dear fintechs up to. Other than that, I've been Michael Phillips, your host, together with Jonty Mulholland from DFR, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good day, guys.
Cheers for having me. Thank you very much.